Anthony, there's something almost poetic at the heart of BuzzFlix. You're producing Offline, a film about stepping away from digital noise while simultaneously building a brand that lives entirely on social media and encourages students to share everything publicly. Was that tension intentional? And is the film really making a case for being more intentional online rather than just unplugging?
It's a great question. It was honestly not intentional when we first developed and pitched that concept. And, we realized the irony in relation to our business model soon after that concept. I mean, the original idea behind Offline was to, we wanted to find topics that kids today could really relate to. And one of them I thought of was digital detox. Like, who wouldn't be interested in doing that these days as everyone's connected to social media and how it affects us? I mean, you have countries now banning social media up to a certain age. So we thought that would be a very interesting topic that people would respond to, or that it would resonate with people. And so far it has. So, one of the film's many messages in that film is very complex. And our writer, Megan, has done a fantastic job bringing that script to life. But it is part of the messaging in that movie is being more intentional and true to yourself online. The main character starts out as very performative because she feels she has to be that way on social media and with her online presence. Mm-hmm. And by the end, she realizes it's good to unplug and be more true to yourself and let others know that as well. And that movie also has a lot to do with probably the main theme. It's about female empowerment in 2026, more so than anything. So we're very excited about that one, and I can't wait to bring that to the world. And again, our writer, Megan, who I think recently just graduated, did a fantastic job with that story.
And as a quick note on what Tony said there, of the 70 kids, and we hired entirely based on attitude and availability. But of the 70 kids we hired, over half are women. 3 of the 4 scripts written by women. Yeah. And quite probably half of the movies will be directed by women.
Our entire AD team for episode 1 it's a female department.
To give an example, Jade, who wrote one of the movies, is the first AD on the first movie.
We need more of that in the world, I think. That's super important.
We've made a conscious effort to, as I said earlier, see that the kids we hired represent Canada today. Right? And so we see all kinds of faces out there on the team. And I think we have done a great job of making sure that we have a great mix that recognizes what Canada looks like today and who we hired.
A realistic cross-section to really amplify female voices, I think, is super important. I think that's...
These female voices don't need amplifying. They are so proud and confident and talented, these young ladies. But it is great for the world to see that all those things are the case.
Bill, most productions lock down what crew can share publicly. BuzzFlix flips that completely. You're actively encouraging students to document and post everything. What's the thinking behind that, and what does it say about where film culture is headed?
Okay, I touched on this a bit earlier, but I'll repeat myself for the benefit of what we're doing here. Yeah. One of the main reasons we wanted the free social media on what we're doing is so the world can tune in both to our social media channels, but also to the participants' own social media channels and see that they're doing this themselves, creating essentially a digital resume.
Right.
So if I'm thinking of hiring Adrian to direct a movie 2 years from now, and I'm wondering, well, what's his demeanor like on set? Well, let's look at some of this social media and watch Adrian direct, because people put videos of him behind the scenes working with the actors up on the YouTube channel. Yeah. So the kids get this kind of digital resume effect out of it. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, we want the world to see that it's the students making the films, that the mentors are just there as their guardrails and crash pads. If somebody has a little meltdown, we have a very seasoned director, Gail Harvey, who's there to say, well, I've been through this before, and here's how I solved the problem. How do you think you're going to solve this problem? Wow. And if the camera department starts getting a little, you can light yourself into a box, right? You start the day and the lighting gets more and more complicated. And we used to have a joke back when we were shooting on film. It's like if the dots and fingers come out your day is gone, right? And dots and fingers are these tiny little flags they put into the lights to shape the light on somebody's face and reflect here. You start getting into that kind of stuff, you've lost your day, right? So if the dots and fingers come out, we have a seasoned cinematographer there to say to Zav, who's the cinematographer in the first movie, is saying, hey, maybe you should back up, simplify the lighting. How would you solve that problem? And again, being Socratic in what we do, not prescriptive. Mm-hmm. So these people are great. They have their own ideas. They are not as experienced as we are, but that's the only difference. So Socratically saying, you're getting into a box there. What happens when you turn around? You're going to have to move 50 lights? Mm-hmm. And maybe that very talented young cinematographer goes, oh, you're right. I should simplify this because when we turn around, I'm screwed. So,
I've noticed that lighting is sort of shifted. Like if you look at films from even like 10, 15 years ago compared to now, is that something that you've noticed as well? It so seems like flatter and darker and desaturated, perhaps. Is that a lighting thing? This is like
I think there's interesting things that are going on with the language of image. Because it's no longer film, right? It's no longer film and television. Right. It is the digital image out in the world.
Right.
I've made big movies. I've made lots of movies on 35 millimeter film. I've been fortunate to have edited movies on 35 millimeter film in my career. And watching the digital changes that have happened, one of the most significant things, I remember we were mixing, I can't even remember which movie it was, but we were mixing a movie probably about 15 years ago. And we're in the big theater, Dolby 5.1, now Dolby Atmos, beautiful projection. And I'm listening to this incredible sound. And then I'm sitting there going, no one's going to watch this movie this way. What happens if we put it up on a crappy television this big? Right. And so we literally got the worst pair of computer speakers we could find at the facility. We plugged them into the board and said, let's see how this sounds on these crappy small speakers. Right. And we redid the mix because the small speakers compressed everything together and it became mud. Right. And so our craft to make this beautiful, and I'm talking about sound, but the exact same thing applies to picture, to make this beautiful image, to make this beautiful audioscape that isn't going to work in the medium whereby most people are going to connect with the work is a fool's pursuit. Now you can do both. And now when we do our DCPs, for instance, we do a theatrical color space and we do a video color space. We acknowledge that, this is going to be hopefully it's on Netflix because that's where a lot of people are watching movies. So why would we make something that isn't going to work on Netflix, that only works if you do the blessed thing, which is have that wonderful theatrical experience? Right. But let's not kid ourselves. I've made 80 movies. I haven't had a theatrical movie in the last 4 years. Yeah. So in terms of the change of the image, I think it is just the visual language changes because we know how people are consuming the work. And the lighting technology has, of course, changed as well. We're using these LED panels. A gaffer who used to have to be so frustrated with one of his technicians, he'd get up on the ladder himself and he'd drop a gel or a net in front of one of the lamps. He just sits there with his iPad now, dialing in the color space. Great. It's changed.
It's totally changed. To your point, audio engineering, I know a lot of audio engineers that mix for phone specifically because that's how people are not even listening to it on proper speakers anymore or even headphones. So yeah, you have to be able to tailor it to how it's going to be listened or absorbed.
Yeah, the speaker on this watch is molecules. Just a few of them.
Just like 3 molecules put together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how people are just listening to it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's the way it is now. So mentorship in film has traditionally been informal and hard to access unless you knew the right people. BuzzFlix makes it structured and paid and open. What did your own early experiences teach you about what a better version of that system could look like?
Well, I can talk, as I do a lot, but maybe Tony wants to talk. I'm going to say one thing and they're going to let Tony talk.
Okay.
We've both been Hollywood assistants. Tony was, in the mailroom, in the agency, on a desk. I was on the desk and started as the assistant to one of the top managers in LA, a man who's no longer alive, sadly, named Jeff Pollock. Jeff was Will Smith's manager. He was Beyonce's manager.
Whoa.
And we've both started in very modest roles in very hard environments. And you gained mentorship, but you paid a lot of price for it.
That's a great way to put it, Bill. So everyone knows that film is hard, or if you watch any documentary or you watch any behind the scenes, film is very hard. Why is it so hard? Because most of the crews are untrained because they've never been mentored properly. If people actually knew what they were doing half the time, and this goes to the top, network executives, studio executives, all the way down to the PAs. If they were actually mentored and actually were trained in some way, things would run a lot smoother in film and TV. It probably would be a lot more efficient. So you would probably hear less horror stories, and maybe, I don't know, think of the industry would be very changed. But my experience in Hollywood was cutthroat, as Bill touched on. It was sink or swim. You were mentored to an extent, but it wasn't like a student-teacher mentorship. It was you watch your boss, yell at people on the phone, and you learn from that. You learn how he deals with that, and then you hope to not screw up too badly so you can keep your job for the next day and keep learning. That was the whole opportunity. So they never sat down with you and were like, okay, here's how the day went. Here's what I should have done better. I don't think that ever happened once to me in my entire career. Now, I do see some past people I've worked for as mentors, but not exactly in the way that we're talking about here, and not in the way that we do it at BuzzFlix. BuzzFlix, mentors are specifically on set to be mentors. You know, we want to make sure that people are, things aren't going to go off the rails, and they can ask questions. We're going to give advice. They can ask us questions. We are available for them, you know, and hopefully the students take advantage and utilize us. That's why we're there. And no other part of the industry offers that.
And the young people aren't here to advance our careers. We're here to advance their careers.
Right.
And that's where the normal model breaks. Usually, yeah, kid, you work 22 hours a day. I'm yelling, scream at you, and I wanted equal, not sweet and low, and all of that, but you'll have a job at the end of the day.
Right.
Again, flip that the other way around. We've all got great careers.
Yeah.
Right? We've all done amazing things in this industry, and we're there to support the kids. They're not there to take us further, which is the standard Hollywood model.
Absolutely. So not only do you have the potential to really raise them up and like create people that know how to do their jobs better, but also improve the quality of films that we're all able to watch. So it's really like you're doing God's work out here, fellas. So I just want to say it's fantastic. Hopefully we'll spark a lot of inspiration in other people and want to do the same. So
we're so excited. We're already planning the 2027 BuzzFlix.